Can everyone hear me? I want to thank all of you for coming out today and being part of this tribute to Arline. Death has taken our beloved Arline. Our friends grieve in their darkened silence. In their world there is lamentation, in their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For Arlene's love that united us in life, is that better?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to start from the beginning. She deserves it. All right. Death has taken our beloved Arline. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. There in silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For her love that united us in life, in which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path, which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks. Those who wish may join me in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. On the rising of the sun and its going down, we will remember Arline. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, in the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, in the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we'll remember Arline. So as long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. But life is a journey, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and knowing to ignorance, and ignorance to knowing. From foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love. From joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding. From fear to faith. From defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting. Neil, I know that Arline was your life, your rock, your partner in everything you did. From making a home, to running a business, to going cycling together, to being part of one another. Two pieces making one. I think the thing that also impressed me was not just the love that your family, Arlene's family, has expressed, that both you and Arline had for each other. But what also impressed me was the love her brothers and their family had for her. In talking to them briefly, I learned of this love, this respect. I learned how they cherished her and her memory. And at times I think how they looked up to her as something that is part of them. You know, we all have siblings, and if we're fortunate, we all have relatives. Some we don't really care about. Some we would say, okay, yeah, that's a relative I used to know. In this case, Arline was a relative that they will not forget. And in the beginning, before we started the formal service, I explained to her brothers the tradition in the Jewish religion of the ribbon that we do to the mourners. The mourners in Judaism who have obligations in mourning are husband, children, siblings, God forbid, parents. They have certain obligations, and one of these is to rip a garment. And nowadays, garments are pretty expensive, so we don't rip the garments. We use a ribbon. And the ribbon shows to all of you that they have a loss in their lives. The ripping of the ribbon shows the feeling of that loss. That something inside of them has been torn and has been damaged. We can always take this ribbon and sew it back together, but you'll always notice that tear. No matter how good of a seamstress or tailor we might be, it will never be perfect. The same thing with our hearts and our lives. When there's a loss, we go on, but we always know inside of that loss. And I have two things that were given to me to read tonight, this afternoon, I'm sorry. One is from her brother Tom, and he writes, "We are blessed that Arline has been part of our lives for many years. A wonderful sister and always willing to lend a helping hand. Intelligent and well-read. willing to go above and beyond to listen and help with problems. A dear and caring wife for Neil. She was a good cook, a good housekeeper, and always ready to assist with the family bicycle store. She was close with our mother, spent much of her time helping her as she got old and required ever-increasing help. Our father always held her in high regard. He was impressed with her intelligence, artistic ability, and her personality. She loved plants and was quite the creative gardener. One of her favorite pastimes was bicycling. She was a freelance artist, always striving for perfection. Her love of Tai Chi brought her to teach senior exercise classes at the Lyndhurst Community Center. She will be missed and always remembered. Tom. And from Susan Glazer, her sister-in-law, I received this. This last period of Arlene's life has been a difficult and challenging time for her and those she loved and loved her. Even though there were times that most people would have said, "When will this be over?" Her husband Neil would never say such a thing. He held on to hope that despite her illness, she was continuing to experience days that live on in the cherished memories of husband and wife. Dying can be messy, especially Alzheimer's disease, which is called the long goodbye. Yet there is something to be learned from every passing, no matter how difficult. Every time we extend ourselves to another, we have a chance to connect to a deeper dimension of life. We are all imperfect and vulnerable. We are all fundamentally good and whole. These last few weeks, each of us in our own way, has helped transform being with Arline as she was dying into a deeply meaningful, even a sacred task. In her process of dying, we can find a sacred journey. Her death is just not a medical event, but a sacred moment in time and space. And so different images have crossed my mind of Arline, and I would like to share a few of them with you. Arline was artistic and highly gifted. She worked as a graphic artist, and amongst the projects she completed was an award-winning project for the Cleveland Clinic and the city of Lyndhurst. She designed and completed window dressings at the bike shop. These displays caught the mayor of South Euclid's eye. He stopped into the store and said that Arlene's window gave class to South Euclid. Arline did much more at B&K than just the window displays. When they were swamped with customers, Arline came to the rescue and was a great help with waiting on people. She believed in the benefits of cycling. She sponsored and led a women's cycling club. Bicycling was an important part of Neil and Arlene's life together. They enjoyed biking in the parks and around their neighborhood. In addition to biking, Neil and Arline practiced Qigong. Right? Did I pronounce that okay? Qigong. They were introduced to Qigong by John Lee at the JCC. They regularly got up at the crack of dawn to attend classes with him. Although Arline was not religious, she was spiritual and can be seen by her dedicated practice. Qigong is a moving meditation, coordinating slow, flowing movements, deep rhythmic breathing, and a calm meditative state of mind. Arline developed her own practice for many years and then assisted her mentor, John Lee, in teaching new students many more. There is a phrase that what comes around goes around, and this was certainly true for Arline. Many years ago, she found herself caring for her mother as she was dying. She did this gracefully and with much love. And so we can all honor Arline by the compassion and love we show others in our lives. I personally treasure the memory of taking hikes with Arline whenever I came to visit. We shared a love in the beauty of the nature world. And so just as Arline has left this space and time, we can learn to be with our grief, to surrender to it, and find something to do with it. Beauty and pain coexist. To love deeply is one of life's most profound gifts. The loss of a loved one is one of the life's most profound tragedies. Because we love, we will experience grief. Neil and Arline loved one another deeply and shared a happy life together. It has been said that there is no heart more whole than a broken one. And remember, Arline, we hold open her place in our hearts. We only deeply mourn when we deeply love. I would like to close with a quote from Helen Keller. What we have once enjoyed and deeply loved, we can never lose. For all that we love deeply becomes a part of us. May Arline always be remembered for a blessing. God, you gave us loved ones to make them the strength of our light, the light of our life. They depart and leave us for fret on the lonely way. But you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow laden for consolation. O God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures, as you endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in the world that is the dwelling place of love and glory. We say a memorial prayer. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Arline, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance, and may she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. At this point, we have an obligation. One of those obligations is that we witness Arline being placed in her grave, and not just walk away and leave this up to strangers who really didn't know her. So we're going to take a short moment and place her entirely into her grave. Early or late, all must answer the summons to return to the source of being. For we lose our hold on life when time has come, as the life falls from the branch when the day is done. The deeds of the righteous enrich us all, as the fallen life enriches the soul beneath us. The dust returns to the earth, the spirit lives on with God. Like the stars by day, our beloved dead are not seen by mortal eyes. They shine on forever. Theirs is eternal peace. Let us be thankful for the companionship that continues in a love stronger than death. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. It is only the house of the Spirit which we now lay within the earth. The Spirit itself cannot die. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of our departed Arline. Grant her that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor mind has grasped it, is still our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion. Oh God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand. That the pain which loss inflicts is a measure of a love stronger than death. Though we cry in the anguish of our hearts, may we be like children who know that their parent is near and who cling unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit do we commit all that is precious to us to your keeping as we repeat the words of generations. The prayer I'm going to conclude with. In the Jewish religion is a prayer called the Mourner's Kaddish. In Judaism, life is the most important thing. And at the time of a funeral and the conclusion of the funeral, we remember, respect Arline, and we always will. But we also now turn our thoughts to the living, her survivors, Neil, her brothers, her sister-in-laws, her nieces and nephews. I'll recite this prayer in Hebrew. What it says is, doesn't mention the word death at all. So this prayer takes us from death back to life. It talks about love from one generation to the other. It talks about life. It talks about our commitment to the eternal. Yiskadav v'yiskadav shemei rabal b'yamal divrach yivrusei v'yam leif malchusei b'chayechon v'yom echon v'chayet echol beis Yisrael b'hagalav izman kariv v'miramein Yehei shmei rabal mevarach le'olam u'lamei amayim Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yisbar v'yisaleh shemai t'kudashah b'richu L'Elah min kol berchasa v'shivrasa tushbachasa v'nechamasa Namrimam b'yalma v'miramein Yehei shlama rabba min shavai v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'miramein Oseh shalom b'ramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'miramein. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. Lechi shalach Adonai, go your way, for God hath called thee. Go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you, and grant you that everlasting peace. There's one final act. It's an act that's a strictly voluntary act. We believe that we have an obligation, and that's to help in her burial, that we don't leave it to strangers. And we're going to do a symbolic act. We don't fill the grave up. For those who wish to take a handful of earth and place it in the grave may do so. And now I say, now go forth in peace to life. On behalf of Neil, Arlene's brothers, and her sister-in-laws, and her caregivers, Tammy, and everyone else that's here today, I thank you coming here and sharing this sacred time with us. Thank you. If anyone wishes to step forward and place some earth, they may do so.